Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Warrior Woman podcast. Listen, I am your host, Ayana Henderson, and I am so incredibly excited to be with you here today. Listen, Wednesdays are for Warrior Womanhood, all things Warrior Womanhood. Don't forget to make sure that you tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Soul Care Success Series. But for right now, we are kicking off a wonderful conversation around soul care. Y'all know me, I talk about all things soul care, right? So, what exactly is soul care and why do I choose to talk about it? So, soul care is when we peel back the layers of your emotional trauma and we work to heal your emotional wounds. And one way I like to have you think about it is like soul care is more like the surgery that's needed to go in and repair sort of a deep wound. Like you've been having some pain, you've been having some ache, it's preventing you from doing the things that you'd like to do. You don't really have the range of motion, your flexibility is gone. And so our emotional wounds kind of serve the same way. They penetrate deep down within our spirit, within our soul. And what happens is it stops us from showing up. It shrinks our voice. We don't become the people that we know we're capable of being. We don't operate or live in our purpose. We don't do the things that we know we're called to do. And so what happens is we, like surgery, need to go in and actually repair it so we can heal it and then seal it. And then self-care comes in where it's on two folds, both two ends of the stick, where it can be preventative so that you don't have to have surgery, right? You've done all the things to help maintain your mental and emotional and spiritual stability. But if not, and you do have a surgery, it comes in on the back end to help prevent re-injury, right? It's all the things that we need to do to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. Absolutely, 100%. So that is what soul care is. This is why we talk about it. I know what it's like to watch a generational curse play before my eyes, and my grandmother, my mother, myself, and my daughter. And so I know the absolute benefits of actually healing from an emotional wound or a generational curse or breaking a generational curse. And so it's not just me who's doing it. There are other Black women out there who are doing such dope work, such dope, amazing work, who have also gone through a healing journey. And so the point is to bring them on here and we get to talk about what it's been like for them. It's one thing to hear it from me, but when y'all hear it from other people, you know what I'm saying? You get loosened. Okay. Amen, somebody. So listen, I am so excited to bring my sis on tonight. You have no idea. Like she was an immediate yes, like, and just has been rocking and rolling, rocking and rolling, rocking and rolling. And I'm just so grateful for her. I'm just so grateful for her. I'm going to bring her up, but I'm going to read the pretty bio and then she's going to tell you about herself. So, Bianca, welcome to the stage, sis. I'm going to go ahead and read all the things about you and then
Okay.
you get to share. So, Bianca N. Cotton is a hope dealer whose smile radiates the room. And it does, y'all. It does. I promise you. She is a wife, mom, author of five. You see that on her thing? Five books, and the founder of Behind the Confident Smile, a movement where women and girls are inspired to walk in love, live in hope, and be healed from past hurts. You see that alignment? You see how God works? She holds a graduate degree from DePaul University, where she created, listen, okay? They had a list, and she said, no. Okay, where she created her own master's degree concentration, focusing on management and leadership consulting in the nonprofit and corporate sectors, and earned a bachelor's degree from sociology, excuse me, from Illinois Wesleyan University. Now, sis, I done said all the cute and fancy things. Okay. But why don't you tell the people who you are in your own words? Tell them what you do and why you do it.
Yes, let me tell y'all. But before I do that, thank you. Thank you so much for welcoming me to this space, to be with you and to be with other dope Black women. Had to say that first, right? Because we all hold each other. So, who am I? I am a recovering perfectionist. I am a person who no longer allows fear to hinder me and stop me from walking in purpose. I am one who no longer suppresses her emotions and her feelings and just let it out. So that is Bianca. That's what's behind my smile. So when you see the smile today, it's a real smile. It's not like leave me alone smile. It's like, no, it's a real one. It's I'm full of joy. I'm happy to be here. I am not silently crying and silently suffering out of fear of what will people think about me if I tell them what's going on in my heart and my mind. So yes, that's me. And what do? I love to build hope. At the heart and at the meat of it is really helping women and girls to see what is on the inside of them and not just focus on the conditions in which we may currently be living in, but knowing that you can create the world that you wish to live in.
Come on, sis. Come on, sis. Listen, 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 listen. One of the things that I love so much, there's two things that you said that I love so much. One is the name, right? Like behind the confident smile, right? And so I remember when you launched everything and the book dropped and you were, and I was like, that title is so dope. And I was like, I wonder what it, because we all hear something
Mm,
and then we form our own perceptions, assumptions, shaped by our own perspectives, beliefs, etc. And so, I was just like, I wonder what her angle is. And then as I started to pay attention to your platform, your podcast, like all the things that you would talk about, even the people that you interviewed on the podcast, like I was like, okay, so what she's doing is she's showing who she was and what it means to have not just a confident smile, but everything it took to get to that place.
yes,
And
yes.
I was like, come on, sis.
Yes.
Right?
But
Go
let
ahead.
me tell you, it didn't start there. I
Mhm.
think um telling this story is important.
Yeah.
So people don't think, oh, what you see today is where I've always been.
Well, listen, Pastor
So do
P,
you mind if I like take this
I
back?
don't, ma'am.
Let me take this
Yes.
back.
Okay.
Before Behind the Confident Smile was Behind the Confident Smile. In 2017, I had given birth to my first child from my womb, and I wasn't quite ready to go back to work. To my surprise, things changed, right?
Listen.
Um, and my prayer was that God would show me how I can still bring in an income and not go to work. So I didn't have to go back to work after my maternity leave. And God answered with started blogging to encourage women. And I said, what does that have to do with me like making money and not going back to work?
And all the
So
things.
guess what I did or didn't do?
The
I
blog.
I didn't blog because I was just like, I make money off of that. I'm not
Right.
doing it. And so I go back to,
Right.
I'm just being honest. I was
Mhm.
disobedient. I go back to
Listen.
work. It was layoffs, like 2 months back into work. I didn't get laid off. And I went back and prayed the same prayer. And God was like, I already told you what to do. I was
Man.
just like, well, you have it. And that's how Behind the Confidence Man was born.
Listen,
And the name piece, how the name came about, I was listening to a Jonathan McReynolds song, and
hmm
one of his lyrics was like, behind the smile or something. And that's when I knew, oh, behind the confident smile, because I have been, um, what is it? All of my life, people have complimented me. Like, oh, you have such a beautiful smile. I'm like, you don't even know what's behind this. You have no idea.
because isn't that how, as women, That's how we put on the face.
Yeah.
We put on the I'm fine. Hey sis, no, I'm
Mhm.
good. I'm good, right? And
And
we're
he
not
really not.
we're falling apart on the inside, like
I
just
mean,
at our just
nervous
lowest of the low.
breakdown,
Yeah.
stress, eye twitches,
You
chest
see what I'm
pains, all the
saying?
stuff, and the doctors can't figure out what's going on. I'm just telling on myself, y'all. That's my
You see
story.
what I'm saying? Listen, you ain't by
Okay.
yourself, ma'am. We ain't gonna leave you out here by yourself. That's not what we gonna do, okay? Listen, because I'm all about I tell it real and raw. Like, and that's how we put on that facade that we are okay.
Yeah.
And really we're falling apart inside. So that's what I love so much about the title because it's really pulling back the layers of everything that was behind it to begin with. So that when you get to that place of the confident smile, like you've earned that
Yes.
because
You know
now
you
when
worked
you say I'm
hard for
fine,
it.
you are fine. When you say I'm good, you're actually
I'm
good.
good.
Like, you know what I mean? And here's the thing is that sometimes the world can still be around, falling apart around you, but you're not falling apart.
Exactly.
There's something, solidified within you that is now you can stand flat footed and say, no, I'm actually good. Like, I know that there's some fires that are happening, some storms are brewing. There's some people in my life that, X, Y, and Z, fill in the blank. We all have the stories, right? But when you reach a place internally, like you aren't moved, you know what I mean? Like you become that
It's
strong
that
person.
peace. It's
Yeah,
it's it's a resolve of I know who I am. I know what I was created to do, and I know that I was not promised a perfect life.
right. Okay.
So I expect storms.
Because that isn't that what the word says, right?
Yes.
The offenses will come. It doesn't say they may come. It might sort of come. They only come on Tuesdays. They come every other Friday. You know what I'm
Right. It
saying?
said they will come.
It
It
says
said
they
no
will,
weapon formed against you
shall
shall
prosper.
prosper.
Right.
Meaning that don't mean the weapons won't form.
Listen, and that also means that you may also be the weapon.
Yeah.
That you know what I mean? That part. You may also be the weapon that has formed against you. Your thoughts, you know what I mean? The way that you see
Yes.
yourselves, the narratives, the negative self talk, you may actually be the weapon that has formed against you. And so there's another thing that you touched on, but I think we'll get to that in a little bit too. Right. And so, it required this journey to go from point A to point B. Right. And so, we touch on the same or similar concept around soul care. So, for you, what does soul care look like? What does it mean to you? How would you define it?
Yes. So I had to write my notes down so I can remember.
Yes, ma'am.
The first thing that came to mind for me with this question is how am I intentionally caring for my mind and my emotional health?
Yes.
So soul care for me is like how am I being focused with taking care of my mind and my
Hmm.
heart and my
Hmm.
emotions and what do I need and how do I care for myself in the moment?
Right.
And sometimes maybe in that moment, caring for myself means I need to come back to this moment so that I can unpack it and spend time with it
Right.
and not suppress it. That's not what I'm saying, but saying, okay, I acknowledge this is there.
Right.
When I'm done with work, I'm gonna come back to that.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
gonna unpack that. After I put the
Right.
kids to bed, I'm gonna come back to that. I'm
Let
gonna
me
sit
stick
and
a
I'm gonna
pin in it.
journal about this, or I'm gonna call a friend, or I'm gonna pray, or I'm gonna read my word, or take a walk, whatever it means for you to take care of your soul.
Right.
And I define soul care as a hug for my soul
That's good.
and bringing love, attentiveness, and responsiveness towards my needs.
Hmm. That's good. I like that. That's real good. Yep, yep, yep. And so, um, what I liked about what you said, I love the hug for my soul because there is something about just the physical touch. I was at my daughter's cheerleading thing the other day, like they had the basketball game and she was cheering, and there was a basketball mom there. And I'm just greeting everybody. And, I just went to give her a regular hug. And she was like, "Oh, I didn't even know I needed a hug until you hugged me." And it was like, it wasn't like profound, but like, you kind of begin to release, and she grabbed me. And I was like, "Well, bring it on, sis." So I started doing my auntie hug, and my auntie hug is like a massage on the back. And, I'm kind of going in and, just loving on them.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Wow, I really just did not know I needed all of that." And so she's like, "Now when I see you, I'm gonna need one all the time." And I said, "Well, amen. Bring it in, sis.
Right.
Like, it's nothing." And so that's exactly what it's like for your soul. It's the love that your soul needs. It's the nurture that your soul needs. It's the "I see you" that your soul needs. It's the "I understand you." That's all encapsulated in the hug. When you think about how our children, when they get hurt or something happens, that hug can make it can be a world of difference to them. A
Yes.
world of difference, right? And so I love that analogy that soul care is like a hug for your soul. I may use that again, sis. I'm stretching, but I'm just letting you know I may use it again. Yes,
Got
ma'am.
you.
Because it was so, 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 so good. But you're right. It encapsulates our emotional, our
Yeah.
mental, our spiritual, and
Because
then
it's
being,
all connected.
yeah, right.
And our physical too, right? With the hug.
Mhm.
If I'm starting to have a headache, what am I thinking about? Or have I eaten? Have I drinking water? Have I
Mhm.
taken a moment to breathe today? Or am I so tense? Like what's stressing me? And taking into account, like, how is my body feeling?
Right.
Have I
Right.
noticed my posture changing? Have I noticed I have a frown? Like, what's going on?
Yep, all of that. And being aware of where you are, right? I think I did a post earlier today where I was sharing. I have these, I call them staff meetings with God. Whenever I think I got something going on in my business, and I'm like, "God, I'm about to do this," and He like, "Let's talk about it, okay?
Right.
Let's have a meeting," right? And it always ends up being His plan, and and He laid it out for me real sweet today. And so one of the things that as we were mapping it out, and I wanted to be anchored to something, I was watching how God was just kind of like He was just sort of in it
Mm,
and in the midst of it all. And it felt just like that. It felt the hug. It felt like the hug. But then also it was the sticking the pin and coming back to it,
mm.
knowing that, okay, God, all right, we're not going to touch on that right now, but we're going to come back to that. We're going to circle back, and we're really going to, take the time to really unpack that, to really make it make sense
Yeah.
and see what it is that we can do next. And one of the things that I love that you do, um, because I watch the reels and I watch the videos and I do them with you, is when
Mm.
you do the breath. Is when you do
Yes.
the breath. And I call it return to the breath, because that's where you're always going to find your center. That's where you're always going to be able to reset. That's where you're able to just sort of clear. It's just kind of like when we're using a calculator and we have like the clear button, but then we
Oh,
have the clear
yes.
all button. And
Yes.
that clear, the breath is like the clear all button, right? And then even in labor, that's why we practice the breathing. I used to be a doula. And so one of the things that I would encourage women to do with the breath is to make the sound, because you got to actually get the
Yeah.
energy out. And so
Mhm.
they used to be like, "That's weird." And I used to be like,
But it works.
"Girl, you ain't in here to be cute. I
Right.
mean, you ain't here to push a human being out. Like, make the sound, man.
Right.
Ain't nobody recording you. This ain't going on. This ain't for the gram. This is for
Right.
your mental." And as they would like actually make an audible sound that comes out with the breath, it was like, "Oh, I do feel better." Yeah,
Mhm.
you gotta moan it out, because even God can translate your moans. The Holy
Mhm.
Spirit can translate the moans. But talk a little bit about the breath work that you do, because I think that that is so crucial. And I think it is a very significant but underutilized tool in
Yes,
soul care and in self care.
definitely. Now, another story. It's
Yeah.
hard to talk about the breath work without talking about why,
Yes,
like
ma'am.
how it came about. And I've been meditating over this for a while. I was like, one day I'm gonna have an opportunity to actually talk about the why behind the what.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is my opportunity. So thinking, yeah, right when the pandemic hit, I uh, started therapy again. I've been in therapy a few times for different reasons, but I started again
Listen,
with
needing and necessary.
a new therapist. And I was like, I think I like this one. I think I'm going to stick with this one.
Yeah.
And I was really seeking a way to manage and deal with and face frustration in a healthy way. Um, and she told me to take deep breaths. And I said, what? I said,
Well,
that's all you
I
get.
was right here for 60 minutes. And that's what you told me to do?
She said, anytime you feel frustrated and triggered, because I had a list of things that I was irritated by in that moment. She was like, just pause and take a deep breath. I said, okay. So the next time I had a session, I said, that actually worked. And she said, okay, now incorporate breathing into your daily living, not just when you're frustrated. I said, okay. So I'm building a new muscle. Before I know it, it's become a part of my routine. And almost a year later, I was like, maybe I should share this with the world, right? So I started typing out inhale, exhale posts and posting them on Instagram
Yeah.
as accountability for me that I did my work that day. That I
Hmm.
took the moment to breathe and I released what I needed to release and I inhaled what I needed to inhale. Then I thought about, oh, maybe I should actually do it on video and post a video. As crazy as that sounded to me, I was like, I'm gonna do it anyway, right?
Right.
I'm gonna just breathe on camera and let it go, let it out.
Yeah.
I did not know the response I was gonna get from posting those videos. And to this day, certain people will message me, or if they see me, they're like, I haven't seen no breathing videos from you lately.
Ma'am.
Because they're like, I do it. Like I'm doing the exercises with you. And I was like, for real? They're like, yeah. And
Yeah.
so when I feel led, I will post one of
Yeah.
those videos. And then I start to learn more about the power of breathing and start unpacking how that helps you to have clarity of mind, and it centers you and it calms you and it eases tension in your body and you're actually cleansing
Yeah.
yourself. And I was like, oh, this is powerful. But I did not know all of that when I began, because my reason for breathing was to release frustration.
Yeah.
And now it's just a part of my life.
It's just the level of oxygen that you receive when you breathe, right?
Yeah.
You're able to push out any of the toxins, but you're also able to receive more oxygen, which increases your red blood cells, which increases circulation, like the whole
Everything.
science behind it, right? And so what happens is, um, like just with the breath work alone, what happens is when you are angry, two things are happening. One, all your muscles are tense. So
Yes.
that's why it takes more energy for you to try to force a smile when you're pissed off. Like, this is why it takes more energy to actually think. It's why it takes more energy to actually articulate how you feel and why your words don't seem to come out right. And you feel like you're in caveman speak, or all you can just blurt out or fun, colorful words, right? And so because it shortens everything, everything is constricted and everything is going into a fight or flight. And so it's not always activated by fear alone. Anger can do it, rage can do it. And it can get you into a space where everything in your body is actually more compromised. It's like when they say if you're in a car accident, it's almost safer for your body to be completely limp than it is to actually constrict. Because the minute you constrict or you grab the wheel tight, you're liable to break bones because your body is so stiff. But if you are, they find that people who have fallen asleep behind the wheel, they actually, or people who are drunk, they're less likely to sustain injuries because their body is limp.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same way when we're in a fit of rage, when we're in a fit of anger, fear, frustration, any of those things. But when we're able to reset with that breath, we're able to bring more oxygen into our body. We're able to loosen those muscles. We're able to not contract as much. It becomes easier for us to get our words together, easier for us to get our thoughts together, easier for us to get our emotions all in alignment simply by taking the deep breath.
Right.
And the reason why that's so powerful is because that was the way in which um, we receive life in the first place.
Yeah.
Life was breathed into us. And so every time we take a breath in and every time we take a breath out, it's almost like receiving new life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how, because if you're not breathing, then you've passed.
Right.
Right? And so, it's not just, oh, I'm breathing, oh, I'm taking a deep breath. It really is an opportunity to be grateful that you're still here and that
Mm-hmm.
you're still able to seize these moments and that you're still here in the land of the living and that you're still able to be present with the people and your loved ones, right? It can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, of course. Um, but this is why I think the breath work is so impactful. And it is something that can be incorporated as part of the journey.
Oh,
And so
definitely.
you alluded to, like, I had my list and I was like, da, 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 da. And so we know that with this work, when we start to really take our healing seriously, really recognize there's some things that are inconsistent with us or incongruent. We're saying we're fine, but we're not acting fine. We're saying we're happy, but we are really pissed off, and everybody can, like,
Everybody know anyway, and
mhm,
that's what taking a moment to breathe uh, helps you to have a honest moment with yourself. Like you may start off and say I'm fine, then say, you
right,
know what, I am not. I don't feel like talking about it right now, but
right.
I am not okay. I need a moment.
And you know what? We don't give ourselves permission to say what you just said because it's so powerful. I can't talk about I'm not okay, but I'm not in a place where I can talk about it right now. That is like, and it's okay to say that.
Mhm.
Sometimes we feel, a pressure to actually articulate in that moment because somebody is, maybe they're projecting that they are, you know, they're doing it in a helpful way, but
Right.
maybe it's coming out like, I just want to help you, and you're like, I don't
Like,
want you
it's
to
too
effing help me,
much.
right?
Right.
Like leave me alone.
Right. Like I give me the space to think about what type of help I need. And
Hmm.
then I can come back to you and share the type of help that I need.
Right, because now I know, and now when I say it, you can actually be useful in the help
Right.
instead of like, well, do you need? Well, what about? Well, if I did, because now I got to consider. And now I'm more frustrated because I don't know if that's even what I need? So it's like, it's okay to say, I'm not okay in this moment. I don't know how to articulate it, and I need a moment to process it. And
Yeah.
if I need help, I'll let you know,
Right.
right? That's how you can handle those different types of scenarios. But as you are going through this, I'm sure there were challenges or hurdles or something in the healing journey, right?
Oh yeah.
For you,
Yeah.
what has been the biggest challenge or hurdle in the healing in your journey?
Mm. Before I answer this question, I've been on a intentional healing journey for 12 years.
Come on, sis.
So I want to share that because it's tied into another discussion that I think we'll get to towards the end. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, a person who likes to take action, be proactive, and I got it, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
got it. The
Mm-hmm.
biggest challenge was talking about my struggles
Yeah.
and not feeling like I need to be strong all the time or have the answers all the time or solve the mystery, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Learning to allow myself to cry and release pain that way. Big challenge.
Yeah.
And holding on to pain can, I made a note of this too, holding on to pain can be a safety blanket because you don't know life without it.
Right.
Even if you desire to release it, it's like, but if I let it go, then what's on the other side? Like, I don't know how
Right.
to be anymore. But that's a part of the healing journey.
To find out who that,
Right.
you know, who that is. And the beauty about that part, because that is a big thing that women won't always come out and say, but I know it's a thing, which is I've been this way for so long that I don't know who I'm going to be if I actually forgive. I don't know if I let that go, what does that mean? If I heal, do I have to become somebody different? Like, I don't know who she looks like or what she looks like, you know, healed. Will I be completely different? You know, and because there's this unknown, they choose not to do it to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's an evolving journey, right? It's just like I said with the surgery. First, we got to get all the gunk out. We got to get, because if not, it's going to continue to infect you and you're always going to show up very limited in your abilities, in your gifts, and in your talents and all this purpose that we talk about. I just want to find my purpose. I just want to know my calling. God is not going to put you before people to break them.
Right.
That I know. He's
So,
not.
so on your journey to finding your purpose or uncovering and discovering
Right.
is the pruning process, the shedding process, the letting go of the past hurts, the unforgiveness, the weights that's holding you down. Even if those weights are things you may have sat in for years, may have taken on yourself, like, well, this is just how I am. It's really not. Like, walking and healing is really you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a new you, it's you.
It's just you. Right.
It's you without all the other stuff. Like it's
Right.
you. And allowing yourself to look at yourself
Mm-hmm.
in the mirror
Right.
without the makeup, like the beat face and the jewelry and the clothes. Is you.
Right. And so one of the things I think that what I love about what you just said is, you know, we're talking about learning to like ourselves,
Yeah.
you know, not just, we talk about self-love quite a bit. And, you know, we get it from my belief, we get it from a very surface level.
Mhm.
You know, I love myself. I'm going to talk nice to myself. I'm going to affirm myself. But when you're looking at it from a biblical perspective of just love,
Yeah.
right? And and even in the word it says to love one another as you first love yourself.
Yes. Yes. Let's.
That
I
is
mean,
okay.
my
That
last book is that's what it's based in. Captivating Confidence.
right.
It's based in how can we get this right? Because we focused on external so long that
Right.
people
Right.
have
Right.
forgotten about themselves because it's seen as selfish.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to help somebody else. But have you helped yourself first?
That part. How are you going to be kind to somebody else when you're not kind to yourself? How are you going to be patient with somebody else if you're not patient with yourself? How are you going to be gentle with somebody else if you're not gentle with yourself?
And, and I think that's how the margin of burnout and fatigue occurs, and the pouring from an empty cup is because I'm not taking the moment to pour into my cup, whatever that means, devotion, prayer time, etc., working out, drinking your water, eating your salads, I don't know, laughing with your friends, whatever helps you to fill your cup.
Right.
If you aren't doing that for yourself, who's supposed to do that for you?
Do you see? I'll wait.
I mean,
Right.
who's supposed to do that for you? And but that goes back to, what do I need?
Right.
Not just to survive, but to thrive in this life. What do I need? What type of people do I need to surround myself with? What type of music should I be listening to? What
Yeah.
type of podcasts or sermons or books should I be reading?
Yeah. These are all part of that self-discovery journey. It's really figuring out, what do you like? What are your preferences?
Yeah. And being okay with saying that. Like, my favorite color is X. I like to eat at X restaurant. And
Right.
I order the same thing off this menu every time I come to this restaurant. And I have no qualms about it. Like, it's
Right.
okay because that's your preference.
And it's
I
okay.
like to drive a truck versus a car.
You see?
But sometimes we can look past uh, those things because it may seem minute.
Right.
But this all helps to build up who you are, and for you to explain, even if it's just to yourself, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I'm willing to tolerate, this is what I'm not willing to tolerate.
That part.
I can accommodate this, I won't accommodate that. Like,
Right.
I'm
And I
very
have this
strong on
level of
this,
capacity. Yeah.
I don't bend on that.
Period, point blank. That's all it is. I said what I said. Okay. I said
And
what I
I
said.
meant it.
Right. 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 I put a whole period at the end of that statement. Okay.
But
And
that
so,
goes back to what you said about loving yourself. So how can I
right.
love myself? Eh, It's, am I loving myself conditionally or
Mm,
unconditionally? Am
right.
I being patient with my journey? Am I keeping records of wrongs towards myself?
Right.
Am I comparing myself to somebody else?
Listen, say it, because one of the biggest things that people don't recognize, that they also, like, we talk a lot about, oh, you got to forgive that person, you got to forgive this and that and the third. There's usually two people that we forget in that. We
Yes,
usually have to forgive God, because we've probably held some of those against him. And it sounds like this: God, why did you let that happen to me? God, why did you? The moment we're like, God, why did you? We're now operating with a level of unforgiveness, because now we're blaming God for what he's done. But then the second and the biggest is ourselves.
mm-hmm.
I'm reading, finally reading The Body Keeps Score. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm learning in this, as I'm reading it and really peeling it back, of shame can also show up when we've experienced trauma and we weren't proud of the way we handled that trauma, because maybe we thought we should have, or maybe I talk about being molested, but I also talk about it too, that I was already a sexually curious child, like a very body aware. Like, I wasn't trying to do things beyond my age, but I was already curious about what a penis looked like, about what different body parts look like. So when I saw one, it was kind of like, and this is, at the time of it, I'm also intrigued. So I can't quite compute that I'm actually, something is wrong.
Right.
And so And again, just for the listeners out there, I can be very transparent. I try not to hold back on my journey, because I feel like if I'm going to say the thing, I'm going to say the thing, because it's in saying the truth about what it is, uh, that helps free other people. But I also mean no offense, if anybody is offended. But I will say that when they were talking in the book, because we experience alternative thoughts at the same time the trauma is happening, we then start to shame ourselves
Yeah.
subconsciously, right? Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe if I didn't, maybe if I wasn't,
Right.
maybe if I, and it's all the maybe and the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? That come as a result. And so we then internalize that. And then we operate from a place of, um, not really forgiving ourselves for the way that we should have shown up or the way we thought we should have shown up. Maybe I should have said something sooner. Maybe it happened at 6 and I should have said I shouldn't have waited until I was 13.
Mhm.
Like, we repress these things. And so, that comes as a part of it too. And when you're operating in that sort of subconscious shame, you end up not being able to forgive yourself for the thing you think you should have done, or the
Right.
thing you think you could have done differently. I work with grief, in a grief group as a grief counselor, and when I have moms or parents who've lost children, they try to replay everything that they've done
Mhm.
as a parent to try to figure out what box wasn't checked.
Right.
I have to remind them there's absolutely nothing you could have done differently.
Right.
Everything that you did was good.
Right.
You did all that you could do where you were,
Yeah.
as you were. There was nothing that you could have done differently, especially if it is a child that has died by suicide. I
Mhm.
said, you do have to understand we all have the power of free will.
Yeah.
And although we may not understand the depth of the decision, especially I think the youngest was he was 14,
Mm.
taking his own life. And I said, even at that point, they still don't understand the depths, but they do understand the decision. They just don't understand the magnitude of
Yeah.
it at that point, because whatever they're feeling is so overwhelming that the relief, whatever the relief looks and feels like to them, is what they go after.
Yeah.
And so, um, they struggle with that. And so it's just reminding yourself that you do have to give yourself grace, and you do have to give yourself space to be able to, continue on this journey, and, take it step by step. But that forgiveness piece is very, 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 very huge
Yeah.
in the whole process. In the whole process, you have to forgive yourself. And so that can be one of the rewards that we don't always see, um, as a big reward,
Mhm.
right? And so, I can tell you that it frees up so much space in your heart, and it frees
It
up
does.
in your spirit. And so, if I can ask you, I know you've done the work, you've gone through the different things. This has been a 12-year journey for you and counting, because here's the thing: when you're healing,
It
it's a
doesn't stop.
right,
Because we keep living life, right?
right,
So we continue to encounter people, places, environments that may prick us like, oh,
right.
I got wounded by that. But
You
now
see?
you have the language like, I feel wounded. I need some space to process what just happened here.
Right,
When I engage with you, I may not want to engage with you
right,
because I've been hurt.
right,
So we have the language now, but that
right.
doesn't change how I feel.
And it's, and you can say like it's still a little salty, it's still a little raw. You know
Right.
what I mean? I just discovered that that was a wound, and I just discovered that this was the trigger to the wound. So give me a minute, please.
Right.
Like let me breathe, let me reset, let me, okay? Because yeah, you see what I'm saying? And so for you, what would you say has been one of the biggest rewards in your healing journey?
Mm. The one of the biggest rewards that I am walking in more and more now is joy, and unspeakable joy, and giving myself the space to feel joy too. Because sometimes when you have speaking for myself, experience trauma, and depending on the level of trauma, you're still waiting for the other shoe to drop. So you're like,
Always.
I
Always.
feel good today, but
Always.
am I gonna feel like that tomorrow? And coming out of the thinking and the mindset and the heart posture of, I need to hold on to this just a little bit longer, because if something else happened, at least I'm preparing myself for it, right? So I've had to work my way out of that thinking and just take life one day at a time as it comes and embrace the joy. And also, another biggest reward that's coupled with that is helping others learn to be free, and what that means, and that you can have it too.
That's the biggest. I think that is a huge reward, is when you recognize that you've gotten to a place where you can go back and get other people.
Yeah.
It's that place in your heart where you're like, man, if I could do it, I know she could do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know they could do it. Right. And so it's being able to get yourself enough up on the mountain to be able to say, hey, sis, like, don't step on that rock, because
Right.
it's not really a rock. You know what I'm saying? To be able to come in and do the, say the things to help the people. Right. And so that comes at a level when you've actually reached a place where you know that you're wounded. You might see the scar, but you don't feel the pain.
Yeah.
You know that something happened. You know,
Right.
I still have the little burn mark on my hand from when I tried to grab the hot comb. The one time
Right.
had all the aunties,
Ooh, them hot cones. Ooh.
blowing and pressing, and you hear the grease sizzling and the grease pop your scalp.
You're
Yep.
like, did you just burn my ear?
Hold the ear, hold the
Right.
ear.
Hold it. Oh, I don't miss those days.
I did not. And I was telling my daughter, I said, you don't know nothing about.
I
Okay,
made
you don't know about
memories,
getting on your
but whew,
press.
I
Okay.
do not miss being burned.
Do
So
you see?
on
What?
accident. I mean, but
Right.
still burned.
And so here I am, we're talking about 30 plus years later. It's still on my hand, but when I touch it, I don't I don't feel anything. There's
Right.
nothing that's triggering me. And now I can laugh about it, because it's like, Chad, you don't even know,
Because it's here.
because it's
Yeah.
healed, right? It's healed, that whatever new skin needed to develop. And so that goes back to that analogy of, who will I become when I heal?
Yeah.
You still be you.
Yeah.
You'll still be you. You might have a reminder or a mark that says, I remember when, right? But it's the wisdom from that mark. It's the wisdom from that wound that you've extracted, and that allows you now to give advice, that now allows you to guide, that
Yeah.
now allows you to teach, right? And so when you see these coaches out here like us, who are willing to pour, is because we recognize that we were wounded. We felt the pain of the wound. We didn't want to feel that pain anymore. Like, something had to give. Something had to give. And so we were really willing to get it stitched, cut it open, remove any excess tissue that may have built up as causing discomfort or can't function properly, remove it and stitch it up and let it heal properly the way it should have been healed the first time, right? And so, that can be the reward, is because for sure that you've come out on the other side. Like, that you've come out on the other side. And
And
so
that you can come out again.
that
Because
part,
sometimes after you uncover one thing, you uncover something else. It's like if I did it once, I can do it again.
Rinse and
And I
repeat.
can do it again. And I can do it again. And you building that muscle of being an overcomer.
Right. And that's how you get to the confident smile. That's how you get to the smile that says, sis, I done been through some things. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
And
you
not just
still get
been
to walk.
through, but reflected on, because that's
Right.
the key part that I don't want us to miss. You can
Hmm.
go through stuff and not reflect and pull the wisdom from it and the gems
Right.
from it, and you circle back to something similar, and because you
Mhm.
didn't reflect
Right.
and pull the wisdom and the gems from it the first time, you might repeat
Okay.
it.
Especially if that's like, if he's like, that's not what I needed you to get from this lesson. Now you're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah,
And this time it's probably gonna hurt a little bit
nobody
more
want to do it
because it's
again.
compounded, you know? Because it's compounded now. If you had just, and so, that leads me to, our final question, because I think that that is so good, even if there is a different tip that people can do. But for you, what is one tip or one concept you would want women to either, I'm going to combine two questions.
Okay.
So it's a concept that you would want women to lean into as part of their healing journey, or what's one tip that you can give to the woman who's on her healing journey?
Mm.
Where can they
One,
really press in?
yeah, I want to start with checking in with yourself. It's the it's the concept that I really had to drill into myself.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
and it's the first chapter of my fifth book, like checking in with yourself. I
Yeah,
even put that before checking in with God um, chapter, because how can you have an honest relationship with God if you don't have one with yourself? And what I mean by checking in, right, is how am I doing today? How am I feeling today?
right,
What what am I thinking about? Why am I thinking about that? What do I need to get to point B from point A?
right,
It's truly taking those moments, and you can be doing it while washing the dishes, washing clothes. Like, how am I feeling? How was my day? Asking yourself, how was my day? What did I learn from today? What do I need to do differently tomorrow or improve upon? Right? So checking in with you, critically important. And that's the one concept and tip that I want to give. And also, in addition to that, is healing is not an overnight like pill. There's no pill that you take to be healed overnight. It's a journey, and it's a journey of
yeah,
intentionality.
right,
So either if that is listening to an audio book or reading a book,
right,
journaling, uh, being meeting with a therapist regularly, talking to your pastor, having friendships in your life that are healing. Some I want to add this because this is something I'm been unpacking, and I'm still
mm-hmm,
unpacking in this. I believe that in the place that you were hurt, you can be healed. And what I mean by that is, say for instance, you were hurt within your family. God can give you other family members that can bring healing to your life. If you
mm-hmm.
haven't had great relationships with other women, He can bring in other women into your life to be a healing balm through friendship. You can heal in the places where you've been hurt,
That's
but
good.
you got to be open to it.
That part. That part. Because you and I touched on that a little bit when I was sharing with you, like we were going through the application process, and I was sharing with you, what it took for me to get to this place to be on platforms with other Black women when I struggled so much with my own Blackness. And then also being accepted into the Black woman community because of my schooling, and going to school in a predominantly white neighborhood. And it took me many years to accept my own Blackness, because I was always told I wasn't Black enough. I had my Black card revoked a couple of times because there were certain things that I didn't know how to do, which to me seemed foolish, but I get it in the Black community. Like, you're telling me I'm not Black enough because I don't know how to play spades? Like, that's what we doing? Well, you
Right.
need to teach me how to play it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Exactly.
never had a reason to play it. I never had a reason to learn it. And I don't recall at any of the family gatherings that we actually played it, where it was just like, oh, it just was never on my purview to actually like pay attention to, and it was small things like that were said, but it was so many small things that were said over time that made me not feel Black. It was the, oh, you speak white. It was the, oh, oh, you think you're so smart because you go to, from kids in my own community. They would be like, oh, you think you're so smart because you go to school in the suburbs. And I was like, I think every kid has an opportunity to do, like, it's a program, like you can apply,
Right.
and I just happened to get in at kindergarten because my brother was already in and he was in like sixth grade,
Right.
and so it's like, so all those different things. So I had to heal from that so that I could get into community with other Black women. So, like you said, you can heal in that area, and God will send people who not only, like, when I share that story, the women who get it.
Yeah.
I don't have to break it down. I don't have
Mhm.
to, try to front or try to, be somebody I'm not. It's just like, no, I get it. You
Yeah.
sound educated. It's not white. You just sound
Right.
educated. I get it. And so they make it make sense. And so, God will send people, like he is a restorer like no other. Like
Mhm.
he will restore things in your life in ways that you could absolutely not imagine, like absolutely not imagine, and it will just floor you. It will just floor you when you lean into the process.
Yeah.
So listen, y'all, this conversation is rich and rich and rich. We could be on here all day, but
You
you guys
know,
have that.
just with my popcorn.
And so, listen, I really hope you all got some nuggets from today. The takeaway of being able to lean into the process of being able to trust yourself so that you can actually trust God. Say the ugly things to yourself. Say, not speak negatively to yourself, but admit the hurtful truths.
Yeah.
Because one thing we do know for sure is that God is not going to do anything with your story that you're not willing to give him, even if he knows it. You got to be willing to give it to him. And so, we've just had another wonderful conversation around soul care. I hope that you all have been immensely blessed. You all have your notes. I've taken notes. Listen, I promise you what. I want to make sure that you guys all have Bianca's contact information. She can be found on Instagram at Bianca N. Cotton, or you can visit her website at www.behindtheconfidentsmile.com. There you can find more information about her products and services, along with her podcast, Behind the Confident Smile, where you can learn how to build that confidence behind your smile. So I'd like to leave you with any last parting words that you have for our listeners out there. Yeah, just let
Yes.
people know.
Just want to encourage you to stay on the journey. The healing journey is not easy. It is not a cakewalk, but there are really beautiful days, and sometimes you can feel like you're taking steps backwards, but continue to move forward because you're worth it. And those coming behind you and your family is worth it. Even those in front of you are looking at you
Right?
and being encouraged to know that they can heal too.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Listen.
thank you.
You're
I
welcome. So listen, y'all, be encouraged. Listen, step into the healing. And it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So until next time, we will see you all right back here next Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You guys take care. We'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.